Minister, something I've spoken a lot about is farm firefighting vehicles.
Yeah.
I know that the registration of such would sit within transport.
Yeah.
We are less than a month away from the fire season, still waiting for something that has been talked about for more than 2 years. How strongly are you urging your transport colleague that we have something in place immediately for this?
And we have had this conversation, and I think there's a lot of practical elements to it, and I think a lot of it makes sense, and I thank you for your advocacy on that. I've had conversations with Minister Aitchison about this, and also I think the last time we met was with the farmers, New South Wales Farmers President as well. I think you may have been aware of that. There's obviously a trial that's going on. I see a lot of merit. I think what the issue is at the moment is trying to find that landing part between what would be the most appropriate thing in terms of, say, what type of registration. How do you also make sure that someone who's trying to do the right thing and they've got goodwill doesn't inadvertently find themselves in any trouble? Because, things that I hadn't thought about, for example, were if that person drives an unregistered vehicle or doesn't have any form of registration on a road and, hopefully it never happens, but they have an accident, somebody's hurt, where's the liability? So there's that work that's going on, which for some people may seem like, oh man, it's the paperwork and it's a bureaucracy. But we've got to get it right, because somebody could be trying to do the right thing and without any intention actually finds themselves in a bit of trouble. That is the stuff that we're working on at the moment. But I know the Minister is keen on it. I'm keen on it. We've just got to try to make sure that the registration solution is one that complies with expectations within road rules, but also ones that offers protection. And even in terms of work like around, what does that mean for CTPs? It's quite complex. But there's no go slow on this. Like we're trying to do it, but it's just about making sure that we cross every T and dot every I. The last thing I want is a farmer who's got a farm firefighting vehicle, sees a fire, 10 kilometres down the road, and out of the goodness of their heart wants to go and help, but then ends up getting in trouble because something goes wrong and there was no protection. I actually want them to be protected as well.
Absolutely, Minister. Now, you say there's a trial underway. There's been 2 trials occur for this.
Yeah.
The last one finished in February this year, or March this year, I think. Are you confident we will have a system in place for this year's fire season, as was committed to this season and the season before?
Yeah, Mr. Barrett, look, I'm hopeful, but I'm also conscious that it's not necessarily within my space to make that call. I work with my colleague, I work with the farmers, I work obviously with service and working across the CTP. But there's I think of the trial that we had about 140 odd vehicles, and about 140 odd, about half of them had problems. And I saw some really terrific farm firefighting vehicles and some that I thought, oh my gosh, that is actually a bit of a death trap. So that's what we're working through. But the most important thing is we're working with New South Wales farmers as well, because we need to be them to be part of that partnership. So I would be hopeful that we can get it going. But to be honest with you, I was a little bit surprised and maybe a little bit disappointed when I saw that about half of them had some problems with it that could potentially be dangerous. I said, it's finding that balance between people trying to do the right thing and help and saying thank you and not making it difficult for them, but in the same way protecting them so they don't, in trying to do the right thing, find themselves in serious trouble or potentially worse still at financial ruin because, what they had did some damage. Either worst case scenario, let's assume it killed somebody. That's, it's feasible. If somebody's on a road and the car is not necessarily up to scratch, or the vehicle's not up to scratch, or it doesn't have safety things. So we're talking about things like, what's the expectation for brakes? How do we make sure that if there's an inspection, it's not going to be onerous on the person who lives 30 kilometres out of town to have to drive into a mechanic's to get like a pink slip. Like that's the stuff that we're working on. But I'm hopeful. I hope that what you see is in response to that answer is that the commitment to get there is still alive.
I might